We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the one and only Monday Night Live. I am your host, Nathaniel Bibby. Just got back from a wicked weekend in the southwest of Australia, where the wine region is. So had a good break, but now super excited to get back into a new format of Monday Night Live tonight. I did a post a couple of weeks ago where I suggested an idea to the audience on LinkedIn. I said, what do you think if I was to invite, a few people who wanted to ask questions and actually be a guest on the live stream, ask their questions live, and perhaps, the audience watching would get some value out of the Q&A. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. We've got a few guests here who have been kind enough to jump on, given I just sent them the link a couple of hours ago. Drop in the chat, guys, and let us know where you're tuning in from. I'm always curious to hear where our audience is. G'day, Alistair. We've got Oliver here. Good to hear. Loftwa the Beatsmith on Facebook. So this is broadcasted across LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And the audience is starting to build up. So we may get stuck in with one of the first questions. Without further ado, let's roll. Everybody, please welcome Achieng. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Nathaniel.
No worries.
So my question. All right. So my question was, I noticed something.
Where are you tuning in from?
I am in Nairobi, Kenya, an area called Kilimani in Westlands, Nairobi. Yeah, beautiful. Africa, Kenya. Beautiful. Yes.
Okay. Well, what's the question?
So I've actually had. You said it. During COVID-19, we couldn't go out and do sales meetings and meet with companies and people one-to-one. So I started doing a lot more LinkedIn lead generation and content creation with the idea that it would bring in leads and sales for me. But I noticed that my content isn't exposed to the audience that I wanted to. So I'll post something and then I'll see that the highest number of people receiving viewership is South Africa, is Kenya, and I don't know how to manipulate it in such a way that I get more Kenyans viewing it instead of South Africans or Nigerians looking at it. So how do I set it up in such a way that it picks up my country? And is this unique to Africa, or does it happen with everybody that it only picks up a certain area?
Yeah, got it. And which platform are you posting on?
LinkedIn.
Okay, great. So if the main audience is Africa, how can you see where the main audience is from? Is that for people who engage with the content?
Yes. So when you go to views, so you'll do a post on LinkedIn, and then you'll see the number of views and who's interacting with your content. So I'll always see that. Yeah, I'll always notice that when it comes to my content, I'm in Nairobi, Kenya, but everybody engaging with my content is South Africa, and it's not actually a true reflection of the area I'm in. Yeah.
What business are you in, quickly?
Sorry?
What industry are you in, quickly? Just what business? What kind of business? Okay,
good. I currently am the business development manager, and I work for a recruiting and staffing solution here. So the company is called Just Recruitment. Yeah.
Yeah. So I expect it's probably to do with the connections that you have. Do you have a lot of connections that are based in Africa?
Yes, I do have a number of connections in South Africa.
Okay.
But I'm trying to get a Kenyan audience.
Yeah, it's a bit glitchy, but what I suggest doing is just expanding your connections with people that are in your target audience based in Kenya, because the first sample of people that will see the content will be based on your first degree network on LinkedIn, and it'll be members of those networks that LinkedIn thinks it's most relevant to. So if you have a network that has a lot of Africans in it, it's likely that, they're the ones that will see it first. And then if they engage with it, then it's going to be shown to more, people from that area. So it's just a matter of getting a targeted network now that, you want people who are based in Kenya, just be quiet, Marshall, based in Kenya to see your content, so that they're in your network. I don't think you need to remove the people from Africa, but I just think expand so that you've got more people in the right area. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, beautiful. And with advertising, if you're sponsoring the post, you obviously have a lot more targeting capabilities. But when it's organic content on LinkedIn, it's all about who you're connected to, and that'll should do the job. So thanks so much, Achieng. We must move on. Thanks very much for your question. The one and only Paul Hogden from the UK. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good to see you, mate. I'm doing
Excellent.
well.
Excellent.
What time is it there?
So it is 11:05 in the morning.
Okay.
But
cool.
I've dressed the room up in a moody evening kind of light so that it matches Perth.
Beautiful. And what question did you have today?
So I've recently, after looking at the posts and the things that you've been doing online, been taking LinkedIn a lot more seriously. But how do I measure the success? Am I making headway in LinkedIn? What sort of metrics should I be looking for?
So that's the first question I have is, what's your goals? What's your goal on LinkedIn? Is it to grow your brand? Is it to recruit candidates, to find business opportunities, to make sales? And then we can work out what the metrics should be.
Yeah, sure. Sales and business opportunities are really where we're sort of heading.
Yeah. So I think the primary one, without a doubt, would be tracking sales revenue, return on investment, which it depends on the sales process based on how you actually measure that. But I think return on investment is a very important one to measure. Every dollar that comes into your business should be attributed to some form of marketing, or
Sure.
you know, maybe it could be 2 or 3 channels. And then you look at what drives return on investment. So if you're doing an outreach strategy and you contact 100 people, you get 50 new connections, 10 appointments, make 1 sale, then you could also work back and go, okay, well, I need to send 400 messages a month.
Yeah.
And if you're doing content, excuse me, I think you focus on areas of improvement. So one of the areas that is helpful to improve is engagement. So if I want to track the number of posts I did this month, how many likes I got, how many comments I got, and how many views does that equate to? You'll see that the correlation between the posts that get a lot of views, and generally it's the number of comments that is the biggest one on LinkedIn.
Sure.
And then what's great to do, if you are measuring these things, is at the end of the year you can go back and go, oh geez, these are the top 5 posts. What was it that were different about them, from the other ones? And you can kind of work out whether or not they're the kind of posts that will generate return on investment as well. But there's lots of different things we can measure, but it's important to be measuring something. Otherwise, it's very difficult to improve, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm sort of finding. And thanks a lot for giving me an idea, an indicator.
Yeah, but if you're focusing on sales, like I honestly think direct messages is a very easy way to get sales opportunities. You can measure the number of appointments and work out what the conversion rates are from there. Do you have another question, Paul?
I mean, it's really down to how do I know if I'm sort of looking at my LinkedIn sort of posts and such, like what sort of elements should be business related, not salesy, but kind of business related, and what proportion should be kind of entertainment based? Because I know that people go on about LinkedIn shouldn't be another Facebook, because we've got Facebook for that, but what proportions would you suggest? That's a good point. I mean, at the end of the day, when people are talking about what they think about LinkedIn, it's generally what they think about what they see on LinkedIn, which is attributed to the people they're following, their network, who they've connected to. So it's about what your audience is there for. So it's about working out, are they there to hang out socially like they are on Facebook, or are they there for business? And if they are, what sort of business content are they interested in? So I think entertainment definitely has a place, but I think it's just so important to be relevant. You can still be entertaining without by being relevant. And like I try to make my posts funny sometimes. I don't know if that gets through, and engaging and exciting, but like I definitely think that the content has to be different on Facebook, Instagram than it does on LinkedIn. But you'll see from the engagement what your audience is interested in. Is that helpful? Yeah, it is. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
No worries.
Great setup Paul's got there. I love the lighting and the background. It looks very good. We've got Cruz. How are we doing, mate?
Very good, Nathaniel. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing awesome. Thank you. Are you up north at the moment?
That's right. I'm in Darwin, and it's close to quarter to 8 here in Darwin.
Okay, cool. And what's your question?
Right. First off, Nathaniel, thank you so much for the opportunity. Some of us refer to you as the Gary Vaynerchuk of LinkedIn in Australia. So you're very popular here. Love what you're
Thank
doing.
you.
So the question I have here, Nathaniel, is I had the privilege of heading an ad agency back in the day based out of Dubai, adding value to a lot of multinational clients. Thereafter, moved client side, headed the marketing department for a multinational across the markets in Europe, Middle East, and Asia. And as the ground currently below us tends to shift rapidly, we see changes. And all my years of experience don't seem nearly as impressive as one's ability to unlearn and relearn rapidly, right? And the question thereof is something which I get a lot from clients, and I bet you do too, is how long is it going to be before all the tactics, strategies, and the muscle of digital media fizzles away before an AI tool comes and overhauls, much like how Canva is overhauling the designer's platter, if you may. And the second question is, what can we do to prepare for it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know that things are changing faster than ever, right? And you're definitely right in saying that that's where things are heading. But one thing to keep in mind is when things start to change, there's normally a massive lag between how long it takes for people to adopt the change. First of all, the platforms have got to adapt. Companies like Google and Facebook are not going anywhere. Marshall. And so they're the ones that are actually going to be leading the innovation, most likely. So I think focusing on where the attention is at the present is really important. If you spend too much time thinking about things like AI, some industries definitely need to, but for the majority of businesses, it's not here just yet. Tricks, hacks, all those sort of things are there's always going to be, Marshall, shush. They're always going to be around. Sorry?
Marshall wants to give me his answer as well.
I know, he's got something to say, hasn't he? Yeah, mate, look, there's always going to be hacks. It's just where the hacks are going to be, Generally, they show up when something's new. So if something comes along that's new, there's normally some pitfalls in it. People work out how to hack systems. And then as they become more mature, then it becomes less easy. It's just like, when websites started, people could get to the top of Google by getting all these backlinks. Then with Facebook started, you get all the people to follow your page. They see all your content, and that changed. Instagram, people could buy followers, and now that's changed. LinkedIn, people have engagement pods. That's starting to change. So Marshall's got a bit of a audience here, a few comments coming through. So, mate, from my perspective, I'm not looking too closely at AI at the moment. I'm definitely looking at things like audio. I think like it's a big trend towards podcasts. Like people like to be listening while they're on the move and things like that. LinkedIn, to be honest with you, I can't see it slowing down at all. There's really no competition out there in the business-to-business landscape, and it's just growing from strength to strength since the Microsoft acquisition. That's a big reason behind it, mate. I think that Facebook will probably have to evolve. I think social media sites are evolving. I think there'll probably be something else between social media and AI, something else that we haven't even thought of, to be honest. It's just about, like you said, being able to adapt, relatively quick is the asset. That's the skill. So I don't know when it's going to happen, to be honest, but I do know that AI is not going to be something that's coming too soon. And I think that it's just being able to be flexible in your approach. And that's, to be honest, why I haven't made any plans around it, because I want to be nimble and be able to adapt when, the time comes. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
How's business going up there, right?
It's pretty good, surprisingly. COVID, and we're very blessed in the Northern Territory not to have any COVID cases. I think we recorded 0 cases in the last 87 days plus. So yes, business has pretty much been normal for the most part. And yeah, we're very, very privileged to be in this part of the world.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Edwin, how are you tonight?
G'day, Nathaniel. Yes, I'm going very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing excellent. Where are you joining us from?
I'm calling in from Brisbane in Queensland.
Yeah, Bris Vegas. And
That's
how's
right.
things over there?
Oh, it's going very well, thanks. Yeah, we've had a few cooler and wet days, but compared to some other places in the country, you can't really call it a winter.
Yeah. And what business are you in?
So I run a video production business called Pure Gold Films. So
That's
we
right,
create
yeah.
a lot of content for other businesses, everything from commercial and advertising videos to training videos.
Yep.
And I was keen to chat with you a little bit about content marketing, especially for LinkedIn.
Okay, far away.
So keen to hear some of your thoughts on some of the do's and don'ts of content marketing. I see some companies do it really well in terms of having consistency in branding, interesting stories, just little tidbits of video that's sort of bite-sized pieces that people can consume easily. But then I see other businesses that are struggling to really cut through, and it also looks like they're trying too hard in what they do as well. And just keen to hear some of your insights in what you think in terms of what businesses should be doing on LinkedIn for video content marketing.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like we're at a point now where content marketing has become a little bit overplayed. It's like, there's so much talk about content marketing, but if you post, so I heard someone say recently that you got to post 10 times a day on social media, and you could quite easily post 10 bits of content every single day and completely waste your time. And, so content has to, like Paul was saying, has to map back to some business outcomes to return on investment. So you kind of need to have a strategy somewhat to how you're going to convert that. And quite often, if you have got a system in place where you're generating leads or you've got a website or you're selling products online, it can be as little as building likability and trust. Every time somebody sees a post, it releases dopamine or oxytocin or one of those brain chemicals that's positive, and that makes them like you and trust you over the next provider. And so the reason that I think most of the people that you're mentioning who look like trying too hard, like you said, I think quite often they're thinking more about what they want to tell people rather than what people actually want to hear, if that makes sense. Because if you're pushing your own agenda, there's going to be very few people that are going to be interested in consuming that content. And so I think that's the major reason that why people aren't getting as much cut through with it. But even the guys that look like they're doing well, telling relevant stories, who seem to have good content, they may not. You don't know if they're not translating it into return on investment. Then that's another ball game. Edwin, are you posting content?
Yes, I am. I think I would like to still do more than I do. I would probably put 1 to 2 posts up a week. And I do.
Is it translating to business?
It certainly has. I've generated inquiries and new projects through it. But the thing I've found is that it takes time. So to help set my expectations right, that I can't expect to put up a post and then think it's going to have an immediate impact, but actually, it might be 3, 6, 9, 12 months until there might see some return. So I guess it depends on your market in particular as well. But I like that you mentioned about that, the know and like factor, which I think is probably one of the biggest factors on LinkedIn, is first to be known and be familiar, and then people will get an idea of what you do. And if you're actually creating content that's useful for them, then they might check you out and say, oh, okay, this guy does good work. And then maybe 6 months down the track, when they actually have a need for your business, then that's when they might remember you. So it's a challenge, I think, to create content that's regularly interesting for people. But you're right, it's always about thinking about the customer, not about yourself.
And we're impatient, but most of the time people are impatient, and content is not one of those things where you throw a post up now and then expect to get the floodgates open next week. It's very much like planting a seed in the soil, watering a plant every day, and then eventually you get a tree. You don't actually see the result. You can't really measure content marketing, and I don't think in its success, whether it works or not, in the first 12 months. Like, you've really got to be throwing spaghetti at the wall for that long to work out what's working and what's not, and to actually see the value. So the first 2 years I was doing videos and posting on YouTube. They didn't have video on LinkedIn yet. I was not getting much results at all, and people kept saying to me, "Why are you doing all those videos for?" But the consistency led to a small audience, and then a small audience shared it with their friends, and then in the last 6 months, my YouTube's gone bananas. But I think, like, without that consistency leading up to it, I don't think it would have had the same results. So being patient, I think, and being unselfish are the two biggest things in content marketing. It's definitely a longer term play. And that's why I said to Paul, that the direct messages will get you quicker return on investment. But you're building brand and it's about building relationships with people, isn't it? And what you do, mate, is huge on social media. I mean, as more people that go on social media for business, the more people are going to need services like yours, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I've definitely seen a growth in it. And getting back to your question about return on investment, so how keen to hear your insights into how a business might work out what their strategy is. So we work with another number of businesses. Some are large businesses that have marketing teams, so they're very aware of what their strategies are. But then a number of other businesses where we might be dealing with the business development manager or director of the company, and they're still decent sized businesses, but they don't have that full marketing or branding strategy. Yeah. And so part of we're just kind of offering a bit more in terms of trying to help people think through those steps. What would be some of your thoughts in working out where to start with a return on investment for some kind of video content?
Again, it's got
or marketing content in general.
Yeah, sure. It's got to map back to their objectives again. So like if you're working with clients, find out what their goals are. Otherwise, you've got to convince them that video marketing is actually a strategy in the first place, and that, rather than what to measure. But if you start, I think, like, if you start focusing on, if this one video or these 5 videos is going to create this many sales, that's probably likely to happen on its own. You could say, oh, look, a landing page with written text is going to convert at 5%. We throw a video on it, converts at 15%. That could be, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. But when you're producing content, I've found that, no matter how much people invest in it, like, unless the content is good, what you're saying is actually valuable to people, it doesn't make too much difference if you spend $20,000 on a video or $500. And so when I was posting content for the last 4 or 5 years, I tried to work out how to do it as economically as possible, so I could test as many things as I could, because quite often there isn't an immediate return on investment. But when you build a brand, I think this is the thing that most businesses would see value in, is when you build a brand, it just eliminates competition. There's so much competition in the global marketplace now. There's not many businesses that can stand out. And social media and content marketing is a great way to do that, but it's also a great way to blend in with everyone else. Because if the content's crap, the world doesn't need more crap content. We've got enough of it. It really needs to be good, and the only way you work out what's good is by posting and engaging with your audience. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's helpful to think about. And I liked your thought as well on efficiency in creating the content, where, years ago, companies would want one video to do everything, talk about all their products, talk about their culture, talk about their services and support. But now you need lots of content. And so we're getting more inquiries and suggesting to customers more to create a series of short videos. So rather than film for a whole day and only make one video, you can film for a day or 2 days, and you can make 1 or 2 dozen videos that will then give enough content for 6 months.
And I think as well, it'd be helpful for some of the content creators out there, like, to bulk create the content. So like if you're filming professionally, it makes sense to do an hour-long video or interview or keynote, but then get your video editor to chop it up into a bunch of 2-3 minute videos that cover one point in each one. rather than going back and doing it again and again and again. Because in content marketing, the best videos are always the ones that cut straight to the point. They're not like, there's no introductions. Say, hi, Nathaniel, today we talk about this. Like, it's the ones that get straight into the nuts and bolts of it, I've found, that do the best. All right, thanks for joining us, Edwin.
No worries. Thanks, Nathaniel. Cheers.
All right, so I'm sorry I haven't kept up with all of the comments here. Karen, welcome. My mum's on the call, bless her. Have we got any questions? I'm just having a look. Mandy Jeffrey from New South Wales. We got Alistair Dickinson. What's the question here? Are you using Restream for multi-broadcasting? No, I'm using StreamYard. So LinkedIn, you have to use Marshall. We use a streaming software to do live on LinkedIn. And so we got the capability to go through YouTube and Facebook as well. Okay. Marshall's going bananas. Just going through the comments here, seeing if there's any more questions. Good point here from Sonia. It can't be attached to the outcome. You need to give content freely. Jab, 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 right hook. Gary Vaynerchuk is the man when it comes to content marketing. I can see Paul doing the jab, jab hook in the green room there. Thanks for joining us, guys, and a special shout out to the guests that we've had on today with their questions. I think if you guys think this is a valuable form of Monday Night Live, then let me know in the comments. I've got a few thumbs up, which is nice to hear. And then if you'd like to, participate next week, then please do drop me a private message on LinkedIn with your question, email, and we'll select a few to join us if the feedback's good. But so far it looks like quite good. So all right, guys, have an awesome week. I'm out of here. Take care of yourselves.